characters. And then he saw in his own hermitage, he had two young prince, in the form of Lava and Kush, who are both prince also and ascetic also. They had all the good virtuous quality. Kuśa and Lava were well versed in the teachings of Vedic musicology. This is something which is very extraordinary. Vedic musicology. Expert in playing musical instruments and in articulation. These brothers were endowed with a melodious voice and they were handsome like Gandharvas. So we go ahead. We discussed till verse 11. 11 says, they knew the characteristics of dramatic performance and spoke in sweet tunes. Born from Lord Ram's body, they were like him, just as reflection resembles the origin. They were Roop Lakshana Sampanno. Means knowing the characteristics of dramatic performance in accordance with one of the meaning of the word Rupa. It signifies that they knew the method of dramatically enacting what they were singing. So it is singing, dancing, and also Natyam. It is Vadan, Gayan, Nitya, and Natyam. Yeah. Gayan, Nritya, and Natyam. They were habituated to speak in a sweet, melodious voices. The implied rhetorical question raised is, if in mere conversation their voices were sweet and melodious, how would they be while singing? One. No. The root cause of all such qualities in them is that they were Lord Ramachandra's son. They were like his Pratibimba. Pratibimba means the reflection or replica. So we'll go ahead, verse number 12 and 13. तौ राजपुत्रो कर्सेन धर्मण्यान आख्यानम उत्तमम वाचो विधेयम तत्सर्वम कृत्वा काव्यम अनिंदितो. ऋषीणां च द्विजातीनां साधूनां च समागमे यथोपदेशं तत्त्वज्ञानो जगतस्थो समाहितो महात्मनो महाभागो सर्वलक्षण लक्षितो. So these are the transcendental qualities of these two characters. These two princes, beyond reproach in knowledge of the right reading of the poem, attentive, greatly intelligent, greatly fortunate, in knowledge of the characteristics of all words, having memorized it in full. See, the speaker, or the speaker should be knowing to such an extent, they memorized all the 24,000 verses. Sang as instructed the supreme historical poem known as Ramayana, that is entirely in line with Vedic Dharma, in the assembly of rishis, the twice born and sadhus. Before they went to Lord Ramacandra to recite in the royal court of Ayodhya, where they recited, it is mentioned here, Mahatmano Mahabhago. They recited in the assembly of rishis, the twice borns, and the sadhus. The two boys didn't merely study the Ramayana and reveal their ability to recall it. They sang it in the assembly of rishis, the twice born, and sadhus. Kuśa and Love were beyond reproach, for they were singing as instructed, as per the instruction of their spiritual master. Who is their spiritual master? Devashish, Love और कुश के spiritual master.
वाल्मीकि जी।
Ah, very good. Valmiki Muni. They were also tattvagna, in knowledge of the principles to determine the correct readings of a composition. They were attentive, not forgetting any portion of the Ramayana. Mahabhagav, greatly fortunate, indicates that they had great fortune, which gave rise to these qualities. They had memorized it through several memorization drills. So they made such an effort. It was not that it came automatically. Even this is mentioned that they memorized it through several memorization drills. तौ कदाचित् समेतेनं ऋषीणां भवति आत्मनम् असीनानां समीपस्थो idam kavyam agayatam. Once upon a time, Kuśa and Love sang this poem in the presence of sages of fixed mind, sitting in an assembly. The sage points out that the Ramayana was respectfully received by great personalities. Once upon a time denotes the time of Lord Ram's Ashwamedh sacrifice. The sages had assembled for that event and were comfortably sitting at the end of the ritualistic duties. Tashrutva muniya sarve vaspa parya akulekshana sadhu sadhva ititva uchu param vishmayam agata. Hearing it, Tashrutva, hearing it, all the sages, Muniya Sarve, their eyes filled with tears. In Bhagavad Gita, what we see? What is the second chapter's first verse? Anyone remembers? Second chapter, first verse. How the chapter begins? Ashru Purna Kuleshanam. Yes, Sonika? Sonika, you raised your hand. Tams tatha kripaya pishtam Ashru Purna Kuleshanam. Whose eyes were filled with tears? Arjuna. Why? Because of anxiety. But here it is different. Here it is Parya Akula Ikshana. Their eyes were filled with tears. Why? Because they were so happy, they so joy. Such joy was there in their heart. So all the sages who were hearing the recitation of Lava and Kuśa, hearing it, all the sages with their eyes filled with tears, told them, very good, very good. And they became very astonished. Param Vishmayam Agata. Vishmayam means to be surprised, to be astonished. Te prita manasa sarve munio dharma vatsala. Prasas asmo prasastavyo kaya mano kushilavo. All these sages found of dharma, their minds pleased, praised the singers, Kuśa and Lava, who were worthy of such praise. So the sages in the assembly where they recited, Lava and Kuśa, the young Muni or Rishis, they were all very well. They were all and gladdened. The sages glorified the poem and the singers because the sages were fond of dharma. They were non-envious. Another quality which is mentioned here, that the sages were so overwhelmed with joy that they were appreciating the qualities. How can appreciation come? The purport says when one is non-envious. Very difficult now to appreciate, to genuinely appreciate. When we see others doing what we do not have the capacity or we are not able to do. How many times the genuine appreciation comes or admiration comes? Very difficult. Why? Because envy is there in the heart. But here we see these two very young princes singing in the assembly of the great sages, exalted sages, who have been performing such austerities for so many years, but their eyes were filled with tears of joy. Why? Because two things. They were fond of dharma, and second, they were non-envious. So in our application part, we should see that whenever someone is excelling, or one is performing outstandingly, particularly in the path of dharma, we should genuinely appreciate and admire and bow down to him. That Krishna has selected him or chosen him, or Lord Ram has chosen them for this service. Aho Gitasya Madhuram Shlokanam cha Visheshata Chira Nivrittam Apiyetat Prataksham Ivadarshitam. So they were talking amongst themselves, oh, how sweet is the singing. Oh, how especially sweeter are the shlokas. Though the core events narrated in the poem took place a long time back, they are as if directly experienced through the poem. So the recitation was so lively that the sages felt as if they are inside the pastime which is happening, which happened much before. So the speaker or the reciter should be able to make the audience feel the event come live, that the event is live. The special sweetness of the shlokas was manifest in the effect of hearing the poem. Due to its mature development, it immediately and more clearly revealed all the incidents that took place. Pravishyato ubhav sushtu tadbhavam agayatam sahito madhuram raktam sampannam swara sampada. While the sages heard them, both Kuśa and Lava sang with equal tempo, nicely entering into the mood of the poem that was endowed with melodious swaras. Very important. They entered into the mood of the poem. So accordingly to what Valmiki Muni gave or bestowed, so they picked up the same spirit, the same tempo, the same mood. And it made the audience feel completely enlivened. Nicely entering into the mood of the poem that was endowed with melodious swaras, sweet, pleasant, and filled with various ragas. Evam prasasya manauto tapas lage mahatmabhi samarakta taram atyartham madhuram tav ayagatam. Being praised thus by the greatly intelligent souls, non-envious specialists. Again, this quality is very important, as we saw in the Srimad Bhagavatam also. That who can hear Srimad Bhagavatam? What is the verse? What is the quality required? Nirmat saranam satam. Dharma projito kaitavo atra parmo nirmat saranam satam. So who can even hear Ramayana? Here, the characteristic and the quality is mentioned, like these sages. Two aspects. They have to be very intelligent and they have to also be non-envious. non-envious specialists, who were themselves praised due to their austerities, they sang with extreme sweetness and very nice ragas. When the sages glorified the singers, that is, the sages glorified Lava and Kuśa, they became more enthused to sing excellently. Prita kaschin munistabhyam samstiti kala shandado prasanno valkale kasche dadotabhyam mahayasha. One minute. Pleased by the singing, a sage stood up and gave them a water pot. So what the renowned sage will have? He will have only two things. What a renunciate is supposed to have? A true renunciate? A mendicant? What is this? Possessions? Yes, Ravindra?
He told the water pot and danda.
Little louder, please.
Danda and Kamandal, Prabhuji.
Here it is two things. Renunciate. He has this kamandalu or the water pot, and what he has a bark, a deer skin, to cover his private parts. That's all. So the sages were so enthused, the sages were so delighted, there was so much of joy that, of course, they cannot give their bark. So then they will become Digambar. So whatever possession he had in his hand, that was water pot. So he gifted that water pot. Pleased by the singing, a sage stood up and gave them a water pot. Pleased with them, a greatly, since it goes further. Pleased with them, a greatly famous sage gifted them 2 bark garments. So that means they took away the heart of the sages. They gave everything there. That was the effect of singing Ramayana. The various sages gifted them as appropriate, out of love. Samastita here refers to a sage stood up. He did so in order to gift Kuśa and Lava out of great love. Mahayasha indicates that the sage who gifted them 2 bar garment was famous in the subject of Vedic musicology. That is, he could identify the grades of excellence in singing. So they were so much overjoyed. Whatever they had, they very lovingly gifted. Anya Krishna Anjinam Prasadad Yagya Shutam Athapara Kashnim Kamandalum Pradan Mauji Manyo Mahamuni. One gifted them the skin of a black antelope. So another sage, whatever was his prized possession, the skin of a black antelope for sitting, and another a sacred thread. Sacred thread, Yagyopavit. Someone gave him a kamandalu, so he received another one. Previous sage also gave him a water pot, and kamandalu is the same thing. Another a great sage gave him a Maunji girdle. I don't know what is Maunji girdle. Prisamanyastada pradat Kopinam aparo muni Tabhyam dado tadahishta Utaram aparo muni. So what the other sages did? One gave him a grass seat. Grass seat. Another sage gave him a kaupin. This is what they had. So whatever they had, they offered. And yet another, delighted by them, gave an axe. So they had axe, little axe. Why? To cut the wood. Why? To perform sacrifice. So you see the spirit and see the joy. That whoever had whatever, just by hearing from them once, they experience such joy, such ecstasy in their heart, that everyone is lining up to offer something. Kasayam aparo vastram chiram manyo dadau muni jata bandhanana manyastu kashtarajyum budhanvita. Another gave a saffron cloth. Another sage gave a strip of bark. Another delightfully gave them a ribbon to tie their matted hair, and a rope to tie the sacrificial wood. This is what the sages are doing. It is very important that if you are going to give someone a gift, you should be very sensitive to give something which is of his utility. Not give something what you feel you have a surplus in you. That is for the heck of giving. No. To give a gift is to be very thoughtful. So these sages were, the Muni. Muni means who is a very thoughtful, very intelligent person. So they gave all the gifts which could be utilized in their service. The one gave a saffron cloth, another gave a strip of bark, another delightfully gave them a ribbon to tie their matted locks, another gave a rope to tie the sacrificial wood, one gave the eggs. Yagna bhandam rishi kashchet kashtabharam tatha para Audambaram visham anne swasti keche tadavadat. A sage gave them a sacrificial vessel. Why the vessel is required? To keep the clarified ghee. Another gave some sacrificial wood. Another gifted a Udumbara seat. How to find out what is Udumbara seat. And the others who did not have any other things. So what they gave? Some gave them their blessings. So no one remained, without giving some gifts to Lava and Kuśa. Ayusham apare prahur mudatatra maharshya dadusheva varan sarvam Muniya Satyavadina. Other great sages, they happily pronounced their blessings for the boy's longevity. What is it? Ayushyam. Longevity. And how much? Apare prahur. Prahur means profusely. How long they would live? Profusely, for very long. Other great sages, they happily pronounced their blessing for the boy's longevity. All the sages, true in speech, gave them benedictions. Ashcharyam idam akyanam muninam sampakirtitam param kavina madaram samaptam cha yathakamam. This astonishing history, composed by Valmiki Muni, is the supreme sustenance for poets, and it has an appropriate conclusion. Not only the sages, but everyone else praised the Ramayana and the two singers, Kuśa and Lava. Akhyayam indicates that it is a certain type of composition, a history in fact. And Samprakirtitam indicates that the sage Valmiki has narrated his history with great elaboration, exactly as defined for such works. The Ramayana is the supreme sustenance for poets. That is, it is the cause of their poetic compositions. Samaptam cha yathakramam, which is an appropriate conclusion, indicates that the Ramayana's conclusion does not deviate from the sequence of events. In some editions, we have Samaptam and Yathakritam in the place of Samaptam cha Yathakramam, which indicates that the poem concluded just as it began. So that is the excellence of the composition. And we discussed that the meter and the composition was par excellence. It was nowhere to be found what has been given in the Vedic text so far. The people glorified Kuśa and Lava as expert in all kind of song, that is capable of singing all kinds of song. Abhigatam idam gitam sarvagiteshu kovida ayushyam pushti janakam sarvastuti manoharam. Oh, you two experts in all kinds of songs. This song increases longevity, is nourishing, charming with all constituents of sound, and beautifully sung. The song sung by them, the Ramayana, increases the lifespan. So if you want to live long, just do one thing. Hear Ramayana. Or for that matter, hear any of the bona fide Vedic scriptures. So what it gives is longevity. Ramayana increases the lifespan. But what is the use of merely being awarded a meager span of life? Therefore, they said that this singing of Kuśa and Lava grants nourishment. It was Sarv Shruti Manoharam, charming with all constituents of sound, that gave rise to appropriate swaras. Abhigitam can also indicate that this song is most worshipable of all songs. What is the song? The Ramayana itself. Prasasyamano sarvata kadachit tatra gayako rathyasu rajamargeshu dadarsha bharat agraja. Once, the elder brother of Bharat Agraja. Who is the elder brother of Bharat? Answer should come immediately. Why so much of thought is there? Only one person. Agraja means elder. Yes, Pranab?
Lord Ram.
Yes, Lord Ram. Once the elder brother of Bharata noticed the two singers in that sacrificial arena. They were glorified in the streets, the royal highways, and everywhere. The elder brother of Bharata is Śrī Ram. He noticed the two singers, that is, he was informed by Bharat of the two singers. So how Lord Ram became informed is through Bharat. Swaveshma Chaniya tato Bharato sa kushilava Pujayamas Pujaryo Rama Shatru Nibharnana. Then Lord Ramacandra, the killer of his enemies, brought the honorable two brothers Kuśa and Lava to his house and honored them. Lord Ram then brought the brothers to his house. They were honorable because they were the singers of a composition about him. They were astonishing, being of equal age, beauty, and other features. I'll complete this chapter. Few more verses, just two, 3 verses. Ashina Kanchane Divya Sacha Simhasane Prabhu Upopavishta Sachivara Bharatavishcha Samanvita Drishtva tu Rupa Sampanno Taubho Niyatastada Uvacha Lakshmanam Rama Shatruganam Bharatam Tatha. The Lord Ram brought them in the palace, honored them, and sitting, both of them were seated on the golden celestial Simhasan, surrounded by his ministers and brothers. The Lord, who had been initiated into the Ashwamedh sacrifice, spoke to Lakshman, Shatrughan, and Bharata upon seeing the two handsome boys. Then the sage Valmiki describes the entourage of the Mahapurusha, the great being, the hero of this composition. The Lord was sitting on a golden Simhasan that was celestial because it was brought by Dashrath from Swarga. It is thus indicated that he was free from any calamities. Shruyatam idam akyanam anayor devavarchasho vichitrartha padam samyak gaino tava achodaya. Listen to this history, filled with interesting facts and words from these two with the effulgence of the Deva. Who is speaking this? Lord Ram. Who is speaking to all his ministers and his brothers and everyone of the temple, that listen to the history filled with interesting facts, the words from these two with the effulgence of the Devas. He then requested these two perfect singers to sing. Kuśa and Lava were as effulgent as the Devas. It is implied that such a affluence of beauty is an ingredient for relishing the song of the Ramayana, which is charming both while recited and sung. Tau chapi madhuram naktam swani chitayatani bhasvanam tantri layavat atyartham vishru arthartham ayagatam. They both sang that worshipable song of the Ramayana that was sweet, filled with ragas, with high pitch, with strange musical accompaniment, and a rhythmic tempo, and with extreme clear meaning. Hadayat sarvagatrani mamamsi hridayani cha stotrashya sukham geyam tadbhavo jan samsadi. Delighting all parts of the body, the heart and mind, the pleasure of the hearing faculty, the song of Kuśa and Lava spread in the assembly. Imamuni parthiva lakshananvito kushilavo cheva mahatapasvino mama pita bhautikaram pravakshyate mahanubhavam charitam nibodhata. These two sages with the characteristics of Prince Kush and Lava are great ascetics. Therefore, this greatly potent life story that does good to even me will be loudly recited. Listen. Lord Ram requested others to listen to the recitation of Kuśa and Lava because they were great souls about to speak of the greatly potent life story of Lord Ram. Tatastu Ram vacha prajodito agayatam marga vidhyana sampada kachapi rama parishad gatasane bubhushaya shoktamana bahubhavaho. Then implied by the words of Śrī Rāmacandra, they followed the Marga style of singing. Lord Ram slowly descended from his simhasan and sat with his assembly. Indeed, he desired to happily hear the Ramayana, his mind attached to the song of the two boys. See, Lord Ramacandra did not want to abruptly get down from his elevated throne, as that would spoil the mood. Therefore, he slowly got down from the throne and to be amidst his assembly. The Lord considered that then being seated on this elevated simhasan was akin of being alone. There is seated on his elevated simhasan was skin to being alone. There is a saying, Eka swadu na bhunjita. One cannot relish a delicacy alone. Therefore, he sat amidst his assembly. Bhubho Shaya also indicates that by hearing about the beloved wife, With that, he regained his excellence. The author, Valmiki, happily stated that Lord Rama himself became respectful, attached to hearing the poem that was sung by his disciple. So this ends this chapter. And next chapter is the city of Ayodhya. The chapter describes the city of Ayodhya, the glories of Ayodhya. That Krishna will take up maybe tomorrow. Hare Krishna. I'll stop here. If there is any comment, contribution, please go ahead. हरि बोल बोलिए यस जय श्री प्रभु
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्ण
Prabhuji, how the genuine appreciation start, Prabhuji, for any?
You see, we should be observing. Where is the word genuine appreciation is mentioned for whom? Yeah, genuine appreciation is mentioned for whom? Which class of men?
By the sages, Prabhuji, by the sages who were following very fond of dharma.
And another important quality. Without that appreciation cannot come.
They were non-envious, Prabhuji, non-envious.
Yes. They were non-envious, they were the follower of dharma, so they were overjoyed. And how do we see that there was genuine appreciation? What is only in the words? Was it in the mind or was it in the deeds? Most of the time we do that. अरे प्रभु जी क्या बढ़िया गाते हैं आप, वाह मजा आ गया आपको सुन के। आप अगर गाते हैं तो मैं मंगला आरती में आता हूँ, तब तो मैं सो नहीं सकता. This is genuine appreciation. What they did that to feel that was genuine appreciation?
Prabhuji, they were engladdened actually. They were feeling joyness in their heart.
That is still external. What they did, I am asking. What was the deed?
They gifted everything they had.
That was an emotion. Manoram?
They gave their blessings, Prabhuji.
Before that? Missing the point. The principle. Anyone wants to speak? Answer? रम्या सुन रही हैं आप?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, they gave their everything, whatever they have.
They gave their most prized possession what they had. This is genuine appreciation. They gave whatever they had. Then we can see that it is genuinely appreciated. The first thing what we should do, we should acknowledge. If we are not grateful, then we are a great fool. We are hearing Ramayana every day. So many days. What is the position of our heart? What is it filled with? Genuine appreciation, gratitude, or there is some other altitude? So we can see how much we are on the path of dharma and how much we are non-envious. To that extent, genuine appreciation will come. And how we can say genuine appreciation, that we are having this spirit of how I can reciprocate, how I can serve. So they had this desire that we have received so much by hearing Ramayana. So how I can serve them back? How can I repay that back? Ketartho asmi. And whatever they had, they very gladly, very willingly offered. Very important. This is what the chapter is. It's talking about the sweetness and the excellence of the recitation of Lava and Kuśa and their transcendental qualities. And just by hearing once, the sages, they were so overjoyed. Whatever was possible for them to serve them or to give them back or to repay them, they were willing, they were wanting. More than willing and wanting. Okay. So now we'll see the description of Ayodhya from tomorrow. Okay, you want to say something? It is muted, yeah. We're again muted.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you for your attention and time. Śrī Vālmīki Rāmāyaṇa ki jai. Guru Parampara ki jai. Nidai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Keep writing. Sonika has written. Priyanka has written. What about Prabhus? They are not inspired to write? Try to write. Hare Krishna.